Hello, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to talk about a game set in the outer space limits of the Star Wars universe, wherein there are no Spock or Vulcan signatures. It is called Star Wars Outer Rim. It is a game for 1 to 4 players, and it features you as a bounty hunter or an opportunistic of the most stellar kind, as you face different tasks, jobs, bounties, and generally explore the outer fringes of the known universe in the Star Wars lore. So, how does it play? Well, let's take a look. Okay, let's take you through a bit of what is involved with Star Wars. Outer Rim. Ooh, shiny. You get your manuals, you get many pieces and components. Actually, I really like these dials, the character or the player dials. I really like they're nice. The détentes are nice. There's no shifting around like terraforming Mars. The ships themselves are glossy paper, and so they do tend to kind of shift around on my not so unglossy board. So what you're seeing here is a game in progress. And I decided not to just start from the start. I was just going to go take a game, sort of the first few turns in, and show you. Here is the map. This is the map. That's right. It's a hemisphere of habitual happenings. And what you have are custom cards, custom events for each of the planets. And so each one has sort of its own distinctive pattern, and it even gives you a few hints as to what you can expect for some of the rewards or challenges. For example, you can buy fame here on this planet usually, and other places like, hey, get illegal cargo, etc. Lots of different opportunities, lots of different vectors for input into how you're going to achieve fame. You have these stacks of cards. This is the marketplace, and I'm just going to set these down here. This is just like player turn examples, and this is for the AI, but you have at your disposal these 6 stacks of marketplace items. Luxury goods, you've got cargo, you've got bounties, you've got ships, jobs, and mods, gear, etc. This market is going to fluctuate by quite a bit over the course of any given game. And you will be able to buy certain things. In other games, you won't be able to buy the same things because they'll be too deeply nested in the stack. Also, each player gets, as explained, a board, and the board has slots for gear, jobs and bounties, crew, cargo, mods, and the ship that you get to start with has some basic parameters for speed, firepower, and health. Health being yellow, of course, the yellow hexagon is health. And then dice, you'll use these for skill tests, and you'll also use them for combat. You also get to start with a given character of your choice. I like Han Solo. If I like my Han Solo, I will keep my Han Solo. And it has a special ability, personal goals. So as you start with a given character, if you achieve that goal, you get to flip the card, and it usually provides you with things like fame or other happy things like that. I don't want to give away too much in the spoilers. And as the AI goes, it's almost absolutely identical. In fact, it's seamlessly identical. Love it. Gave that away, didn't I? But the AI has a deck of cards, and these cards are sort of, imagine the automata. I'll never get that right. Automata. I got to go back and remember that person who told me how to pronounce it. Anyway, that you get these very simple procedural breakdown of what to do with an AI in each turn. And so that was what will be happening. Finally, you have chits. The money's weird. There's just rectangles for 1,000, 5,000, and 10,000. Like, reminds me of Tetris. Tetris coin. And then you've got just placeholder things. This is used for marking spots on the map where you might want to go, and damage. And then you have this custom set of cards. You keep these in order. You don't shuffle them. There's no randomization here. But certain elements, like you'll see contacts, and these contacts are people that are involved in the universe that you might want to take advantage of or even hunt down. And you'll see here, for example, we've got 20. Ponda Baba. And so he has a card here, and that gives a lot more detail about what Ponda Baba is going to do and what he can do for you. Now, in this case, the AI, during the first course of the game, was able to make contact and choose to add Ponda Baba to the crew, which gives him an advantage in land combat, ground combat. The whole point of the game is to get to 10 fame. Whoever gets to 10 fame first wins the game. All right, so let's do an example. On your turn, you start off, and right now I'm in the middle of trying to find and get to a certain place. I have picked up some cargo, Bacta supplies, Back to the future, baby. And I need to go to Taco Donna, not Taco Bell, Taco Donna. So where does that leave me? That leaves me having to go to here. Now I'm over here, and I need to go here. So I need to move. So on my action, the first thing I can do is I can move. I can just get some cash, or I can recover damage. If you ever knocked out because you got damaged too much, that's the only action you can take. So you don't have permadeath here. What you have is inhibiting your ability to get to fame fastest. All right. So now my movement is 6, but Han Solo gains 2 movement. He gets to move 8. Now the thing for him that's unfortunate is that he is currently blocked by these enemy ships. Now there are 4 factions. You've got your 4 factions in the 4 faction board. You got the Hutts, you got the Syndicate, you got the Empire, and the Rebellion. If you don't have a positive reputation with these, then you have to stop when you get there. Now if you have negative reputation, then you will be attacked by them and such. But if you have neutral, then you simply have to stop and slow down and be cautious. If you have positive reputation, though, you can fly right by. Just put on the brakes. All right, so in this case, I don't see a good way because I'm going to be intercepted. Oh, wait. Yes, I can. I can slip here through here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Didn't even need Han's extra stuff. All right, I've done my movement. Then you have actions you can take, and you can take as many of these, unlike this where you take one of these 3. Here you can take as many actions as you have available. Now actions are things like delivering cargo, which I'm about to do, a market action if I want to buy something, and then trading cards with another player, which doesn't really matter in single player play. Also, there are some actions that can happen on your board too. So if you have certain crewmen or certain bounties or jobs, you can utilize those actions as well if the contexts are aligned in such a fashion that the action is valid to perform. So what we're going to do is we are going to, all right, we're on Takodana, so we're going to go ahead and deliver supplies. Now, how does that work? All right, reward, destination. If you are not a droid, discard this card to recover all damage from your character. Oh, that's kind of cool. But I want the reward, so I arrived. I can gain 5,000 credits, 6,000 credits if I actually read right, and this gets sent back to the bottom of the pile. Discarding is weird. They call it discarding. What it really is just putting cards on the bottom of the pile. Some cards actually are removed from the game, but discarding, that's the fashion that it works with. All right, so I get 6,000 bucks. Look at that. Han is rich. The riches are flowing. All right. He's done the job. He's delivered his cargo. Life is good. He didn't get fame for it, but he got money. And now he can use that money because he's delivered to do a market action. Now, the market's interesting. In order to get a lot more throughput, you can take any deck and you can discard it. So, for example, that's 20,000 credits. Never going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and just discard that. Flip it over. 10,000. That's more reasonable, but I still don't have enough cash for that. But I do want to get do I want cargo? I do want cargo. Oh, this is a mod. I should have actually got rid of that, but I'm not gonna. All right, so now I can choose a bounty. I'm gonna go ahead and purchase a bounty. Bounty is free. It's the quicker picker-upper. All right, so with this bounty, then who am I going to find? I need to find this guy. Now, currently, I don't have a way to, there's nobody there that I can find to reveal yet. They'll get revealed over time, but in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and just set him here. He takes up one of my slots for the bounty, but in time, if I basically go here and I can eliminate him, or I can capture him. They both have different goals, and of course I'll lose some reputation if I do, but that's what I'm going to buy. Now I'm going to flip this card over, and look, it has a special icon here that says, for this the Hutts, you need to move the Hutt ship 3 towards whoever it was that invoked that action. Well, guess what? 1, 2, oh wait, 1, 2, 3. All right, so that's the closest we could get to the enemy here, or the enemy being Han Solo. But he's going to move in range, or try to move in range of whoever it was that activated that card. And that's how the patrol ships move for the most part. They generally, when you buy something from the market, you're also triggering an action, some sort of game state change for the patrols on the board. Alright, and that's all that we can do on our turn. So now we go to the step 3, which is the encounter step. And this one is, if you do have a patrol and you have negative reputation, you fight them. Very simple. If not, you can resolve an encounter card or a contact token. Now here I could choose to reveal a token, or I could pick up a counter card. In this case, crew or move contacts. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to reveal this, and then we're going to read Taco Conda. Ready to blow something up? The Doug licks his lips as he snaps a new sight onto his blaster. I can spend $2,000 to gain this crew. Weapons Specialist. Ooh, one of your gear slots can hold 2 cards instead of 1. That's the gift that keeps on giving. Plus, it gives me the Tactics keyword. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use it here. So I'm going to spend the 2,000. I'm going to outfit my ship, and then I get 3. All right. So look at that. That was a pretty hefty turn. I think it went well. Why not? And that's it. Now for the AI, it's almost identical in that you're just going to follow the procedure. They have similar things. Here's a planning step. So the AI has some opportunity to go to Ord Mall. And so Ord Mall is way over to the left. So his ship movement is 6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Except if he has a chance, if there's a couple steps before a planet, he goes to a planet. Because he can do more on a planet than he can on just a waypoint. Alright, then if it's at cargo destination, which it's not, he can deliver it. It's not at a cargo destination. Otherwise, he can buy and place a goal. So he buys, he needs to buy cargo. Now the thing with him is if he couldn't afford this, he can ditch it. But he can't afford it, so he's going to pay the money and get his 3,000 back for that. And then he's going to get cargo. Oh wait, no, that's a mod. No, he can actually buy that mod. And it goes here. Place this card in a cargo slot on a mod slot. You can also have 1 cargo in the slot. When you are rolling a die to deliver illegal cargo, you may turn a blank result to a positive. Well, that's good. All right. And then they too have an encounter step, but theirs is usually customized. Do the first that applies. No negative reputation. If a job destination, complete it. Not there. Reveal the face-down contact card of the lowest class on this planet and give the crew on its card for free. So here, I would reveal the lowest class and get that crew for free. So now I get Dengar. Now I already have a crew, so that kind of conflicts, and I'll get to decide how to resolve that. But that's it. He does the first that applies, and then the rest of it just is done, and that's the end of his turn. Really, really quick AI turns. Now what I didn't show you is combat. Combat is very simple, really simple. You add up your die and roll them. The enemy ships here add up their die and roll, and everybody takes damage. So, if you don't destroy it, the patrol outright, I don't think the damage stays, but your damage stays. But to defeat it, you have to do more damage, do enough damage to this patrol to knock it out. To win the combat, actually no, it's whoever does the most damage. So he rolls 3 dice, and he doesn't take any damage because there's no damage there. So he rolls 3 dice, you roll whatever your values are, and whoever does the most damage wins, even though you have to take the damage. If you win the combat, then you'll get the prize, and then more powerful ships come on board. The last phase ships, phase 4 ships, are unbeatable. So if they land on you, you just die. They're just that powerful. It's like skiff versus an Imperial destroyer kind of thing. And that's a little bit about the game. We'll get into my final thoughts on what I think of this game, but at least you get a sense of all of the pieces that go into this game. All right, final thoughts time. Star Wars Outer Rim. Long, long ago in a galaxy far away came a reviewer named Hairbrain Games, and he had something to say. I'm the Dr. Seuss of Tatooine. And now I'm here to come clean. I don't know. Anyway, let's get over the cons first. The cons are, the game is, it cheaps out in the smallest way. And these are nitpicky because I think you're going to guess what my thoughts are in the game. You have 4 players. They each need 2 dice to do most tests. And so you give 6 dice. Could you not have given 8? Please? Like, are you the same people that do the 8 hot dog buns, 10 hot dog conundrum? Anyway, not a big deal. For people who are expecting general space games to have a like sort of a large sprawling map, which I do, almost all of the space games I own have some sort of very big map exemplifying the vastness of space. This is going to come as a shock. Where you're expecting sort of an Olympic-sized pool, what you wind up with is a lazy river. That's how the game plays spatially on the map. And that's a little bit jarring, but there are reasons and rationales to it that I found myself gravitating to that made it okay. I think it fits well for the type of game that it is. We'll get to that later. Patrols and enemies, they'll give you trepidation, they'll give you cause for pause, but they're not terrifying per se. You can usually find a way to manipulate around the patrols and enemies unless you needed to make a calculated risk. The mercy of the shuffle and the mercy of the dice is something that is an impact here. So you're not going to have predictive abilities to just simply sort of forge your way without any random inputs. That said, there are many mitigating factors that can be used to help you in those tests and in those the marketplace. We'll get in the marketplace later as a pro. The other thing is, finally, it's not a deep branching AI. For solo players, if you're looking for something along the lines of GMT Games Coin Series in their bot system, you're not going to find it here. Think more Scythe, the simplified Scythe, and its automata approach. So if you have high hopes for a clever AI, this is not the thing. We'll get into the AI pros later. Now let's go over something in between pros and cons. This game has enough content that I didn't feel like it was a starter kit, something that I have dinged FFG for in the past, where I feel like they come out with a game, it has enough bare bones equipment, it'll do the job, but it's not I didn't feel satisfied. It wasn't like I got the 4-course meal. I got the sampler plate with the additional option, and so this doesn't feel like that. This feels like there's enough content here to be able to play this game many times and still not maybe see everything necessarily. I do think it really like it needs content continuing on. Because I think it's ripe for extra content because of the way the game is laid out. At some point, you'll have seen everything, you'll have known every card, you'll know, and so then it just becomes a matter of maximizing the knowns rather than being able to just kind of dive into this adventure with excitement, which, any game that has narrative points is going to eventually be like that, where you're like, okay, I've seen this narrative 50 times, but yeah. Let's get to the pros. Number one big thing I love about this, in stark contrast to the last FFG game that I reviewed, is the action hits you right out of the gate. I won't talk about Journeys in Middle-earth as far as its predecessor, which is I am contrasting. That's the way I do when I play games back to back. There's no slow burn rolling up to get interesting. No, from turn 1 to turn 1000, you have interesting things to do in this galaxy that, despite the fact that it's basically a freeway in an arc, is filled with stuff, and not just stuff. It's filled with iconic representations of game worlds, game systems, people, places, and things that we in the Star Wars universe already know about and want to be around and identify with. Stark contrast to the previous game, Journeys to Middle-earth, I know I'm beating on it, but which had generic locations that were generally meaningless to me. They were just basically spatial buckets for me to move around in, and I didn't, a missed opportunity there is a grand opportunity here. I mean, every planet has its custom deck of experiences, and it takes those custom decks of experiences and it just adds and brings alive flavor of the locations: Tatooine, Mon Calamari, Kessel Run, etc., etc., etc. But it just does the right thing with the material. They put their A-game team on this one, clearly. Now, the other thing is the market. The market is brilliantly compact and just despite bone dead simplicity. There are, the market will churn all the time. There are certain games sometimes where you're playing and the market is stagnant, where, especially in lower player counts, the market stays stagnant. It doesn't move. You don't see things changing up a lot. Not so here. The market in this game is really just a brilliant simplification to just getting through to knowing that you're not that far from getting something interesting or something that might be more akin to where you're at in the game and want to do. Instead of getting these large money value fame cards, points that you're trying to get, they're unreachable. But you can cycle through different things, not just any one bucket, but generally. Even in the AI, it's constantly churning the market without making the market be this drudgerous, like, abacus that you have to move around. It's just simple. Boom, boom, boom. Here's your choices. Boom, boom, boom. Here's your choices. Almost like a like a slots machine per se. The AI is perfect for me. It's perfect for me, and I love it because I love automatas. It's when you get bogged down in a game where you're spending 75% of the time doing the other three players' AI turns, then you get to your turn and you feel this sweet bliss, and then you go do this other stuff. Unless you're really investing and sort of role playing each of the other characters, it can get laborious. This takes away that laboriousness. It doesn't make you exhaustively recreate every player's turn. It does what automatas do best, and that is to basically say, wave hand, assume a turn was made, now bring the game state up to whatever happened. And this almost does exactly that. It's really just a checklist of just, okay, do this. Any of these things match, do this. Now that might seem like it makes for boring brain dead AIs, but it doesn't, because it fits in the market churns, jobs and bounties get done. Yes, it cheats a little bit because it doesn't have to roll to decide whether it finishes a job. AIs always win when they complete a job. They don't have to roll to decide if it went awry or not. But that's okay, because it means my turn is great and the other turns are flying by, and I still feel like I'm getting a challenge. There are other games that did that I felt were great. Nations was a great example of that. Great Western Trail had a solo variant that I think did the same thing, where I just feel like even though what it's really doing is just sort of staggering out points each turn that you're trying to compete against, fame points, it doesn't feel that way, and that's what matters. It doesn't feel like it's just a points race. Progression is so smooth and so meaningful. In contrast to Lord of the Rings, where you're just clawing up Mount the Doom to get to what you want, or to get to something. Here, every single progress point you make, every upgrade is significant and changes the game in the way that benefits you and makes you feel powerful. That's what progression should be. You have crew upgrades, upgrade your crew. You have ship upgrades, upgrade your ship. You've got your own hero upgrades. You've got hero personal goals that give you bonuses, ship goals. You buy new ships. Each of these packs a punch that aids you without imbalancing the game incredibly. It just aids you and makes you feel like you're going through a story. You start off with proficiency, and then you become like truly a stud bounty hunter, and that's what I love about it. I mean, in the despite the vertical strip of a map, you have jobs, you have bounties, you have contacts, you have patrols, you have all these things going on in the galaxy that makes it feel pretty chock full, despite its literally linear-like map. The map came into its own for providing lots of opportunity in an itty-bitty living space, and that's exactly what it needs to do. There are games like, say, Merchants of Venice, where you have lots of Merchants of Venus, where you have lots of spatial awareness, that maybe felt a little bit too sprawled out at lower player counts, but here, even with lower player counts, you get a chock-full world that you're going to be able to explore, and meaningfully differently each time. And the other things, finally, despite being a victory point game, fame points they call them, it really feels like more than that. It feels like an adventure, a race to become famous, in such a variety of ways, and with such a weaving of interesting situations and characterizations and narrative and people, places, and things in the world. The card art and the card text all like drive this adventure wherein, yes, you might win by fame points, but getting the fame points is just as interesting as accruing them to victory. That's awesome. So summarizing this game, just to give you my thoughts, since you might be a little bit confused as to whether I like the game or not, Star Wars Outer Rim distills the experience of exploration and opportunism without strip mining away all the interesting parts. It's got a super fast setup, the way I've got it set up, super fast turns, super fast AI turns, thanks to the simplified AI card logic, and it has just the right meat packed into the bun. Every move has an impact, so you're not spending too much time just in traversal as an afterthought, like it's going to take 7 turns to get here. And it's not too little that it feels like you're too vast to do what's nearby. It really feels like you're a privateer. You know, it reminds me of Wing Commander Privateer, at least in a little bit of a way. And in fact, I think that Firefly games, and I have those too, with their big sprawling maps, I think it could have benefited greatly from something like this. Like Zia. Zia is another one that gets compared to it. But Zia is much more of a sandbox space opera, whereas this is much more of a Star Wars side movie that you're playing an active role in, sort of a Rogue One for pirates in board game equivalent. Yeah, I mean, it's pleasant. It's got that pleasant one more turn feel because of how quickly things go. It's that Civilization, like one more turn feel. That's pretty much the stamp of approval on any game that can get me to go, well, it's 1:30 in the morning, I need to get to bed, I got to get up at 5. But one more turn isn't going to take that long. I want to find out what happens. Am I going to be able to, finish this job? Beautiful. Now, it doesn't do anything unique. There's nothing unique here. There's no unique or clever and ingenious tricks of the trade being reintroduced. It just hits all the right points that any great paced, great themed game should do. It feels way more powerful for you as the game goes on, and even though in the end, it's a mad dash for fame points in whatever direction you find most expeditious, with or without others following or leading. The reality is, Journeys in Middle Earth, as a contrast, had an app-driven situation that could have filled the space with just tons of awesome content and interesting things and situations, scenarios, people, places, and things. It it was basically JV level content to me. And yet I look at Star Wars Outer Rim and I think if they'd done that app approach to Star Wars Outer Rim, they would have hit it out of the park, because there is more narrative, more interest, more entertainment, and more just immersion into an adventure in the cards that are provided for this, in the different planets that are well known, in the different places and the people, and the whole, everybody has a backstory narrative or a mission or something that you're going to be able to figure out. Princess Leia, if it's a person, place, or thing, it has something uniquely interesting about it that you can do. I wish they'd do a Lord of the Rings version of Outer Rim, because then you would finally get sort of that awesome experience. Now, once again, I didn't think Journeys in Middle Earth was bad. It just was just in middle of the road for me, and so it just boggles me that they didn't. I wish they'd flip-flopped it. But that's it. That's what I think of it. I think that Star Wars Outer Rim has a place. Of all the Star Wars games I have, it's way up there. I don't think it can, it's not Rebellion. Star Wars Rebellion is the greatest epic space game of the Star Wars universe. But this will probably hit the table more often, because this actually has a lot more going for it to get it set up and going. Whereas Rebellion is something you schedule 3 or 4 times a year. Outer Rim is something you can pull out every week or two, and people are going to have a good time with it. So Star Wars Outer Rim, Space Age thumbs up. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.